Welcome to another Creative Design Team Collab video. Hello, I'm Julie, and for this project, I am sharing an interlocking circle card. This card was completed in Design Space. Let me show you how it all comes together. First, you're going to need a few basic shapes. I'm going to use square and a circle. Here I'm resizing the circle to 5 inches. It just makes it easier on myself, but it's not necessary. I've duplicated the circle. I'm selecting all with the Align tool, and I'm aligning them horizontally. Make sure that the two circles are touching each other. That's an important part. I'm going to duplicate those two circles. I'm going to go ahead and rotate them 90 degrees. Now this next step, you need to group the circles together in pairs of 2, because when you hit that Align tool and center everything, you want to make sure that they stay separate, that they not collapse all on each other. Otherwise, that's what would happen. So here I'm bringing in that circle, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select all of my images, and I'm going to center it. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to change the color to match the pattern paper that I'm working with. I'm going to go ahead here and bring in another square. And you could use the one that was there, but I just decided to bring another one in. I changed the cut line to a score line, and I've gone ahead and I've selected all of those other pieces and I've welded them together because that's going to be my base page. I'm moving here my score line in the center of my base page by using the Align tool and centering it, and then I'm selecting all of the images and I'm making sure to attach them. Otherwise, your score lines are going to be on a different mat. So I do know that for a 12 by 12 mat, the largest size image is 11.5, which works perfectly for this card because my card is going to end up being a 6 by 6 card. So I want to show you quickly how to do these really cool custom overlays. Now I've gone ahead and I've selected a half circle frame, and I'm going here into my images. I'm typing in overlay. I'm filtering it by the images that I own, and I'm just going to scroll through until I see something that I like. I wanted to mimic lattice work because there's going to be flowers, of course. So I'm bringing in this image here, and I'm going to bring these two together. Now the first thing you want to do is to go check the height of the half circle frame, and you want to change the height of the lattice overlay piece that we are going to be welding and slicing together. So I'm bringing that over. I'm just going to send it to the back so you can see the frame. I'm going to use the Align tool again, and I'm going to align it vertically, and then I'm going to align it to be flush with the right hand side. I'm going to change the color for it to be white, and then everything kind of looks prettier that way. It's easier for me to work with. So you want to duplicate your framed image, set that to the side, and you want to start working on slicing the pieces of that lattice that you don't want. So I've selected both of them, and I am slicing out the pieces of that frame. So let's take a closer look to what's happening here. So you've got your overlay piece and you've got that half circle. That's what I want to keep to bring back into my frame. So I'm going to have to slice out the exterior of that, and that takes a few steps. I'm just going to show you the basic steps. So here I brought in just a standard basic shape, a square, and I've put it right on top. I'm selecting both of them, and then I'm clicking on the slice option at the bottom, and I'm removing all of those pieces that I no longer want. I would do that for the top and the bottom, and it does take a little bit of time, and I want to get to the creative part. But the next thing you would do when your piece is completely clean, you would center it, of course, and then you would weld it together, and you would end up with a beautiful overlay, custom overlay. So here I've gone ahead and I've pre-cut all of those images from that Cricut file. You've got your decorative overlays that are going to go on the vertical panels. You've got these really cute flowers that are rolled flowers, and you've got the star of this card, this beautiful butterfly, which is cut out of vellum and cardstock. And of course, no project is complete without shimmer and a little bit of bling. The inside is going to be stamped and decorated with this stamp set. And this one here is retired, but you just need a butterfly, and I'm sure you have one in your stash. So I'm going ahead here and I'm adding shimmer to the cardstock. I've done this for all of them. And then I'm quickly moving on to the rounded flowers or the rolled flowers. So what I want to do here is I want to add a little bit of ink. So I'm using the same color ink and I'm adding it to all of the petals. I'm going to use my piercing tool, but if you have this quilling tool, that works fine as well. But I just found that the piercing tool for this particular flower worked best. I'm going to go ahead here and add a little bit of water. So I'm just going to mist the cardstock. I'm going to pick up the excess. It just makes it easier to break down the fibers. So I'm just going to start shaping my flower before I roll it all together. And you need your piercing tool for the smaller petals, and then you can go ahead and follow through with your scoring tool. Now, you have to be delicate because you do not want to rip those little petals off of your flower. Ask me how I know that. I did a few, obviously, before completing this video. So in the center, they are quite small. The finished flower is about 1 inch in diameter. So they are finicky and they are dainty to work with, but I think that the end result is absolutely beautiful. So here I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to roll it on the tip of my piercing tool, and I'm not pulling at all. I'm going very, very lightly around the piercing tool just to form my flower. And you would think that once you're done that it would collapse and open up like a slinky or something, but no, it stays together and your flower is formed and it looks absolutely beautiful. So this is part of an older collection, but I invite you to go look for them because they are absolutely fun to make. So I did show you here how loosely it was wrapped around the piercing tool. It is not tight at all, at all. So here I'm kind of fussing with them and pinching them together. So let's take a closer look on how much glue I'm actually adding to the base of this flower. I'm adding a generous amount of glue to the base, and then I'm going to fuss with it a little bit. I'm going to move it around. I'm going to pull down on the petals until I like the shape that it's taking. I'm going to then secure it down underneath my acrylic block, and that's going to help push it all into the glue, and I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to take my little butterflies, and of course they needed a little bit more shimmer and a little bit more inking, and I'm just going to do that for all of them. So let's talk about this base card. So these two side panels that we've created in Design Space are custom, of course, and they look, well, to me, they look like lattice work, but they're also an indication for the recipient when they open the card. They'll have an indication as to how to open the card. Because it is an interlocking card, I've seen recipient being a little bit hesitant. They don't know how to open the card, so I'm hoping that this is going to give them an indication on how to do so. So I've gone ahead here and I've just used a little bit of glue. I did put a little bit more on the frame of the overlay and then just a little bit in the center. Now this card does come with scoring line because we did put them in Design Space, but I like to go back with a ruler and my bone folder and just recrease those lines ever so slightly with all of them. That way they don't crack, because sometimes cardstock or paper will tend to crack, and it's just, you can't go too hard on it and too direct. You kind of have to give it a chance to really form itself. So here I'm letting everything dry, the butterflies, the flowers, and I'm going ahead and I'm going to decorate the inside of the card. Now this background stamp is absolutely a joy to work with. It doesn't matter what you do, it looks super regal and it takes no time at all. So here I'm taking my little butterfly, and I felt that the smoothie ink was just a little bit too dark. So I'm going to go ahead here and do second generation stamping. And I like that it's nice and soft and delicate. So the inside of my card is all going to match. So this was a lot of fun and really pretty, and actually it was the inspiration for this entire project. So here I'm going to add my centerpiece to a cardstock piece, which is peach, and it's on the light side. And I'm just going to adhere that to the center of the inside of the card. So let's bring back our card, and you can see that that's all going to match. You've got your two flaps that have been put together, and here I'm going to go back, and again I'm going to crease those lines so that they're nice and crisp. And by this time I think my paper has been trained long enough and it's not going to crack, and it didn't, so I was quite happy with that. So I'm going to put that centerpiece inside of my card, and you'll see here how the inside is just absolutely stunning. Those butterflies are just so pretty, and I really liked how that turned out. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to close my interlocking card. And you know, you could be done at this point. Like, the inside is so pretty, but why stop there, right? So we're going to bring in the star of the embellishment, which is this beautiful little butterfly. It's done into two pieces. You've got the vellum piece at the top, and then the beautifully shimmered cardstock piece. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of my butterflies and set them aside to dry. I'm going to push them in to make sure that they're all good and secure. So by this time now, you can see that there's a bit of a process. My flowers are all nice and dry. I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to further shape those little flowers. I'm going to make sure that I have enough space in the center to add, you guessed it, just a little bit of bling. So these are beautiful silver gems, and they fit perfectly inside of those flowers. So now that my butterflies are nice and dry, those two elements, I'm going to curl the top of their little wings up to give them even more dimension. I really liked how those turned out, and they're so pretty. And I like the monochrome between the flowers and the butterflies. So we're all done here, and we are going to decorate the front of the card. So the front of the card is decorated with the largest flower at the top, and then the other two are at the bottom, and we're just going to add all of those elements. Now, I usually like to work in groups of 3, but for whatever reason here I ended up with 4 butterflies. So the largest of the 3 flowers is at the top. It's adhered down with glue. And you can see that I've added a generous amount of glue because that way I can move it around. I've got the smallest of the butterfly and the largest on the top panel. So I'm going to go ahead here and do the same thing for the bottom. I'm going to add those 2 flowers, and I've got a good amount of glue so that I can move them around. When you're dealing with 3D elements, sometimes you kind of have to squish them in together so that your cluster is really pretty. So this is like the medium-sized butterfly, and I'm going to just add him with a little bit of dimensional tape, and you can see here that I'm really kind of pushing everything in together to fit perfectly. So I would usually stop with the 3 butterflies and 3 flowers, but I thought, you know what, I've gone ahead and I've created this little guy, so I know the perfect spot to place him. He's going to go right inside the center, and now they all look like they're flying up in one direction. So I really like how this card turned out. I hope you like it too. And I'm going to link you to the next video. So next up is the very talented Tina Lovell. Her link will be in the description below. So be sure to click on the show more if you're watching from your computer. And if you're watching from your phone, click that small little gray arrow that's directly below the timeline bar, and you will see the list of the Creative Design Team members that are participating in this video collaboration. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope that these projects inspire you to create something pretty with paper. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that little gray bell You'll receive a notification to see more crafty projects. I'll be back very soon. Thank you and have a nice day.